this speech a couple times, so I'm going to proceed and hopefully he'll join us. Present from the planning staff are Robert Summerfield, Chris Swalhop. These proceedings are being recorded, and we ask that those who speak please identify yourself for the record. We will conduct this meeting in the usual fashion. We will first receive information from city staff about the application and the recommendation. The recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application. The matter is uncontested. The Board of Zoning Appeals usually, but not always, approves uncontested applications. For all applications, the board reserves the right to ask questions of the staff, applicant, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application, or if there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested and hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, or deny the application. The Board of Zoning Appeals Zoning has the authority to do three things. Number one, hear appeals from the zoning administrator. Number two, grant special exceptions, fact-finding function of the board. And number three, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54-924 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum is present qualified. However, an affirmative vote of 2/3 of board members present and voting shall be required before a use variance may be granted. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Zoning Appeals must make the following findings. A, that there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by the granting of the variance. If you intend to speak tonight by city ordinance, I'm required to swear you in. So if you intend to speak, please raise your right hand. If you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you'll signify by saying, I do. All right. We do have a number of deferrals on the agenda. Robert?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So the following items have been requested for withdrawal from this agenda. Item B5, which was 44 Morris Street, that was withdrawn by the applicant. B16 and B17, 1851 and 1853 Dosher Avenue. These were withdrawn by staff as we determined that they did not qualify to be on the agenda after looking at them a little further after the agenda had been posted. And then the following items have been requested to be deferred to a later meeting date. A2, which is 216 and 218 King Street, that was requested. All of these deferrals are requested by the applicant. A4, which is 137 and 141 Spring Street. A6, 211 Rutledge Avenue. B18, which is 2219 Peony Street. Got that right? And then B19, which is 657 King Street. That was the appeal of the director determination. All of these have been deferred now for the second time. Will not be deferred again unless they can show good cause for another deferral request. Technically, the second request should be when we should be getting that good cause. And in 2026, we're going to be a little bit more strict with that. So that we don't end up with quite so many things on our deferral portion of our agenda going forward, because I think we had 8 items today just on past deferral items. So we don't want that into the future. So we're going to try to be a little bit more diligent about ensuring that folks are ready when they submit and come on the agenda. So with that, Mr. Chairman, we're ready for agenda item 1.
Okay, and I will say one more thing about the rules. If we're going to be following a little bit more, and those are the procedures for time limits. The time limits are generally 10 minutes per side, anybody who's in favor and anybody who's in opposition. So I ask that you consider consolidating arguments when you come up here, and we're not going to have 10 minutes of talking from 10 different people on a certain application. That's something that I'm going to more strictly enforce. I do have the ability as the chair to allow a little more time, but we're going to try to follow those time limits a little more closely, because we've had meetings. I've done this since 2022. We've really had lengthy meetings that stretch out for a very long time, and it's difficult for the volunteers who are on this board, and it's difficult for the public to sit through a 3 or 4 hour meeting. So we're going to try to more strictly enforce those time limits. There's a 3-minute time period on rebuttal arguments or statements. So I'm going to remind people of that for the next few meetings, just so that we try to have a more streamlined meeting. All right. So the first item on the agenda is A, review of minutes and deferred applications from previously advertised BZA-Z agendas. Number 1, review of minutes of the December 16, 2025 meeting. Draft meeting minutes have been circulated to you, board members, in your packet. I think we do have a quorum.
Yes, sir.
For exactly related attendance. Okay, so your motion. Motion to approve. All right, Mr. McKay moves to approve the minutes. Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. We have abstentions. Mr. Bennett abstains. Okay. So the minutes are approved. The next item on our agenda is A3, because A2 has been deferred. A3, 4 Henrietta Street, Garden District, Council District 4, TMS number 459-13-02-078, Zone DR2F, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build an addition with a 4-foot 4-inch west side setback. 7 feet are required. The owner is SC Reno Partners, LLC. The applicant is Joel Adrian, Coastal Creek Design. Mr. Summer.
Mr. Chairman, so this is an item that in various iterations has been before this board previously. And it has been kind of reduced, in my perspective, down to a very minimal variance request. As you can see, again, for those who need refresher, this is kind of towards the corner of Elizabeth Street and Henrietta Street, but it is interior to the block as well. You can see on the zoning map here that the lot configurations in this area are eclectic, to say the least. And in this particular case, this lot is, while fairly long, is fairly narrow, particularly as you compare it to most of the other lots within this block configuration, and how even the other lots that are small have very similar issues to what the situation you would have here with this proposed new home. So you can see here, just it's important to note that what we're here for tonight, the reduced request, is basically to accommodate the entryway that you see here, and then the little bump out that would be on the second floor for, I believe, is a bathroom on that second floor. You can see the survey of this lot here. Again, this is what I want to draw attention to. So the encroachment into the setback now, after a lot of reconfiguration on this project, is just this area in blue. So in order to accommodate the front entry at the front of the house, and we once saw a version of this after the first attempt that actually put the entrance on the side of the house, which is completely not a Charleston approach and would never have gotten through our Board of Architectural Review. And so in order to put this entrance here, have the windows that we would expect at the front of the house, so the front looks like the front of a house. They have requested this variance to allow essentially just this little area in blue to be able to step into that setback on this narrow lot. They've reduced the variance request by providing, again, not ideal, but they have been able to accommodate 2 parking spaces on site, parking immediately at the front of the house, as you can see here. So they will meet that requirement. And then you can see the floor plan again. It's a bump out to accommodate the entry, and then on the second floor, they have portions of a bathroom that would be kind of above that, but otherwise, this house would meet that setback requirement on that side. Very simple elevation, not a lot of extras there. Also, you can see on the elevations, they are being responsive to the fact that on that right side, they would be very close to a neighboring development that is built very, very close, if not right on the property line. So again, minimal openings on that side, and then taking advantage of the fact that they do have some room on the left elevation so that they have windows to bring in light. You can see they've provided a basically how does this fit in the area, and you can kind of see how that goes in. They provided some again imagery of the site and where it's positioned. I'm pretty sure the applicant will talk about all the different lot coverages and setbacks and the way many of the homes on this block, because of when they were built, can't conform to the way these lots were platted. Again, this has come through in a couple different iterations, as you can see by the description of some of the prior items that came before the board. In this instance, we are only looking at a variance request for the single family detached to allow a 4-foot, 4-inch west setback for that small area of the entryway. And again, for all the reasons that I've already kind of mentioned, staff is recommending approval. I will note we do have a number of pages of comments that were received for Henrietta Street over the course of its various iterations and coming back to the board. However, we did not get anything new for the current application and the current variance deviation related to this item at this time. But you do have the historic information, so you can see what the issues have been and concerns have been from the neighbors previously. With that, Mr. Chairman, again, staff is recommending approval of this.
All right, thank you, Mr. Summerfield. I'm assuming we have people who are here in opposition of this application. If you're here in opposition, just raise your hand. Okay, so I see one back there, and so we'll hear from the owner applicant, Mr. Adler.
Thank you. Noel Adrian, Quick Design here to present again. And Robert, if you can go to, let me just go back right to there. I guess this the next last sheet in our submittal. And we'll start here. A lot of this you've seen. I haven't changed things. The only thing that changed was the size of the variance request and its location. But this sheet shows that if the setbacks that are enforced today were enforced on all the properties that exist, no house would conform with the current setbacks. We've got a lot that's just over 24 feet in width with 10 feet of setback. It leaves us 14 feet to work with. If we can go to our proposed site plan. And then I'll just say, so the first step we took after our last deferral was we had a meeting at the city library with people in the neighborhood. And the discussion centered around what to do. Our previous application had one parking spot off street. The house was pulled closer to the street, which left for a larger rear yard, but we had to ask for a parking variance along with that small area that you see in blue. And so through the discussions with the neighbors, it was determined that it would be best if we provided at least the two off-street parking spots that were required. So we have accommodated that again. Then the other requests that we had from the neighborhood were that variance request would occur only forward of the gentleman at Six's house, which it does. So it is forward of that. Obviously, you can see that 50% of the first floor are stairs going up. So that's nice. Then you have that small little section. And that would just be this area right here in blue, which is actually conditioned space, and that is 2-story. The whole area that we're looking at, Robert, if you go down here, it'll tell you that that is 53 total square feet of footprint, stairs included in that, which is 2.2% of the lot. So I feel like we have worked with the neighbor to do that. The adjacent neighbor did ask for 2 other things. That was to provide that privacy wall. There was a detail on the drawings for that CMU wall with stucco finish and brick cap. And then it was specific because in our previous application, we had a fireplace further back in that great room that pushed into the setback, and it was that we would not have any fireplaces, HVAC, or mechanical equipment into that 7-foot setback. And so we have accommodated that. So the difficulty with that obviously is now that the house has been pushed back further because that second parking space, 18.5 feet deep to accommodate it. So the area that I had at the rear is now taken up by stairs, HVAC, and some building. So that has generated the current opposition, which is the neighbors whose property comes in. Oh, we should go back, I think. So
You want the area or do you want?
Survey, to that original survey. So there's a property that comes back here, and so I'm allowed by zoning to be 3 feet off that rear property line. Now I'm back there with my stairs, and so I'm closer to his property. But that is not required. That doesn't require any sort of variance request. So in order to accommodate the majority of the neighbors saying it would be good to have 2 cars off street. And we're okay with this small section of blue that's on the left-hand side that's into that 7-foot setback. And we discussed with them that the house was going to push back, and everybody was on board, unfortunately, except for the person now that is most impacted by that. But whether this variance is approved, that house is going to push back there because it's going to have to in order to get the program to work. So I think that going through the height, if we go to the streetscapes, I just want to mention again on that, this here, that the reason this structure is taller is you can see where our finished floor is required to be per the current flood zone. Wasn't around for 10, 6, 2. So that's why our house is slightly taller than what's around. There's nothing out of scale proportion with the floor systems that we're requesting. We just have 4.5 feet more foundation than the adjacent properties. I think with that, our presentation has been relatively consistent throughout. I think the biggest difference is that we met with the neighbors. We had consensus on what to do, and that's what we have provided and are showing to you now.
All right, thank you, Mr. Adrian. Anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application?
Hello, my name is David Drutz. My wife Victoria is here and my son Hugo isn't. But we own 6 Henrietta Street, which is the neighboring adjacent property to the west, this house here. And we support the variance request. The developers have met with us and after consideration have changed their plans, and I think it's met our main worry, which was the safety concern. So we support the change, and we understand that we have an opportunity at the BAR to suggest changes to the height, mass, and scale, which we will be involved in that process.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application? All right, seeing no one, do we have anybody in opposition? Yes, sir.
My name is Ernst Bruder. I'm the neighbor behind, as Mr. Adrian very nice described. 2 things. It's not a hardship. I'm completely against this because it's not the character of our neighborhood. All the houses on Henrietta, all the houses on Elizabeth have a backyard. With that new design, there is no backyard. The gentleman who owns the property knew from the beginning what he's going to face. he built or remodeled now, number two. Now he's trying to really extend the envelope to the biggest and really destroying the character of the neighborhood. The fact that the majority of the neighborhood, no, it's my dear neighbor, and I like Victoria and David, they went just for their purpose. They want the house back, so they have not, kind of blocking the sunlight. With that, now the house is so far back, it blocks all our sunshine we have, jeopardizing the plants. I wrote a nice letter to Mr. Dane. I never heard back from him. And I'm more than happy to put these two letters into your file. So I'm completely against that. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition to? Yes, Mr. Willis.
I don't know if it's possible to be neutral. Hi, my name is Fred Willis, and I'm head of development committee in Mizzique, Raggboro, and now the Charleston Garden District. I just wanted to clarify one thing that's come out from both sides here, and that is height, scale, and mass is the purview, as I understand it, of the Board of Architecture review. Whether the house is pushed back or not, or whether it's too tall or not, I don't think is appropriate justification for either side. I think that becomes before the BAR, because I know of examples that we've looked at that have no front door, but built in a historic neighborhood. So they have a side entrance and they've managed to make it look historic, but it's very deceiving, like 74 Radcliffe. So my point really is we're here to talk about the side setback and the design of the house, or whether it has to be pushed back to accommodate the owner's request, I think should come up and be discussed only, in the context of BAR.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. All right, anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? All right, seeing no one else in opposition, Mr. Adrian, you're permitted rebuttal.
Thank you. So no, so, so just to clarify the property owner behind and in their opposition statement that every house has a backyard is not accurate. 200 does not have a backyard. It doesn't look like 600 has much of a backyard. There are others that don't. If you go to that area, probably for the zoning map, you might see that. So there are plenty of properties that push, in odd spaces there. So I think that our design is appropriate. I think there is absolutely a hardship when you're looking at something that gives you only 14 feet of maximum building width to design a house. And what we are asking for is to be able to, if we go to that front elevation, create a house that actually the streetscape I think would be better, Robert. And so when you look at this, we're designing a house that fits within that neighborhood. You look at the architectural detailing of it, you look at how it is following the pattern of what is already on the street. Everything is appropriate with it. If you had to take off this very small 53 square feet, then you are left with that. And that is not something. If you look at the house at 10, typical Charleston single, when you look at this street, there aren't houses that are just 14 feet total width.
Yeah, and then Dane Derbyshire, SC Reno Partners. So we did meet with more than just the two neighbors that are here and Mr. Willis. It was a general concern, I think, amongst the neighbors, the parking, because they felt the street didn't have enough parking. So just from my perspective, that was something that needed to be addressed for multiple neighbors, not just number 6. And then in terms of obviously, it's a challenging situation. We're trying to obviously make this as palatable to everyone as possible, but we felt it was important to prioritize the request of number 6 is that was the neighbor that was most directly impacted by the relief that we're requesting, obviously. So we felt that the parking was critical, and we tried to we're still going to work with Mr. Bruder about the HVAC, which I think he's concerned about with the BAR process. So I'm sure there'll be iterations in collaboration with everyone here as we go through BAR, but in terms of the request, we felt like I said, again, moving the house backwards was, which we're allowed to do even if we didn't do this, if we just did it by right. We felt like that was the best path forward for the most people, I guess, in terms of compromising. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, public hearing portion is closed. Questions, discussion, questions for the city?
Robert, can you explain the back property line for us one more time?
The,
Rear setback.
oh, yeah, so. So the setback, it allows for an encroachment of the stairs. And actually, I don't even know, it's a 3-foot setback, right?
Stairs go to a 3-foot setback.
Yeah, so they allow for an encroachment for the stairs. So as mentioned, nothing in the rear is against code. So none of that is a deviation. That's all would be permitted regardless of this variance request. So again, from a staff perspective, particularly the addressing the neighboring concern about moving the house as far away from the home that's on the property line, and then not putting a bunch of windows on that side. Staff felt like the very small variance request that this has kind of gotten down to has been a really good compromise. Acknowledging that, yes, in earlier iterations, they were not this far back on the property, which allowed them to have their stairs and HVAC and stuff further from that rear property line, even though technically they would have been able to use that space even in earlier iterations of this plan.
But they're complying on the back property line.
Yes.
They're not asking.
Based on the
Okay.
current site plan, yes.
The only issue is the setback, and on the side setback, Robert, if we approve the variance for the side setback, are they limited to that area on the side setback? In other words, is it specific enough in the approval that the side setback doesn't extend all the way to the back of the lot?
So that's a great comment, Mr. Chairman. So part of my request as whoever makes the motion is that they would make the motion subject to the site plan as presented at this meeting. So that we're very clear that it's only approving a setback. Because normally, you're right, once you create a setback, that's the setback. But given the context of this one, I would ask that we motion to approve this variance subject to the site plan as presented at this meeting. So that it's clear that the setback is limited to just, I can't remember exactly how many feet that is, but whatever that length measurement is, or the 43 square feet of encroachment area.
And how do you feel about that, Mr. Adrian, in terms of, what I would hate to do is I'd hate to give a variance on the condition that it's in accordance with the site plan or architectural plan, if in fact it's tweaked and do VAR comments or whatever it might be. So maybe do you have a number there in terms of the number of feet from the front lot line that we could use?
So there's, so if the variance 4'4", then you'd be 2'8" is the difference there, but I think you could make the motion. We have no problem keeping this. I mean, this is our plan. We're
You know
gonna
what
make this
this-
plan with an approval. We're
What
gonna go
this
to the
step
board.
is here, Joel,
Which step?
the depth, do you know how far this depth is right here?
If you go to the floor plans, there should be hopefully a dimension on that. And so, what do we got here? Yeah, so here, so if the, oh gosh, I just can't read, that's 13 feet out to out, 17 feet here, so it's 4 foot from this point to that point. And then the 7-foot setback must run through here, so these stairs from face of house to corner, that is 4 feet. Based off the dimensions that are on the plan right here, so, you know, if you wanna tie
Talking about the other dimension.
a motion, but then it goes, those are dimensioned as well, so you can see, you got 7'10", 3 foot, and then that is 8 foot something, I believe, right there. Obviously, when you see the PDF up close, you can actually catch those numbers, it doesn't get blurry as you go.
So, I mean, am I calculating this right? It's roughly the first measurement is about 7 feet 10 inches, so let's call it 8, and another 3, call it 11, and then another, what is that, 8.5?
It's gonna be 8 something because that bathroom's gonna be,
So I mean, 20 feet, no further than 20 feet beyond the front lot line,
I think that should be.
fair enough?
and I think that was actually one of the original suggestions from Mr. Fred was to take an area that was 20 feet in depth and push it over that setback. So that ties into, our intent is not to modify this plan when we go before BAR unless we get specific direction from the
Right.
neighborhood.
I just hate for you to have to come back to us for some great place.
I don't know that we can unless the BAR dictates something, because the neighbor doesn't want the bump to be back at all on that property, because then it gets to where he's at a 0 lot line and we'd be at 4 feet, and then that's tight. He had concerns about safety and all that. So I don't see that going anywhere.
Mr. Groves, I see your hand up, and I'm giving you an opportunity because it's your house that's affected by this.
Thank you. Part of our consideration and support of this plan was in keeping with the present plan. So if the developer doesn't object, I would encourage you to approve this based on the current site plan, the position of the house, because part of our consideration was that.
Okay. All right, so what happens if you go into the BAR and they make you tweak something? Do you have to come back here?
We would, it would have to be a discussion with the neighborhood and then coming back here.
And to be fair, the BAR really shouldn't affect the site plan unless they start messing with the massing such that in order to continue the program, he's got to try to then figure out more area.
I can't speculate on BAR, but if you go to the aerial and you look at that zoning map. So let's just say BAR said, hey, typical house has a wall length of, no more than 60 feet. We make sure that our wall length is no more than 60 feet. That's flat, and we might have to tweak something there, but they should look at the architecture of what's in this area. And you can see that there are certainly long straight walls, different massing bumping out the rear. Our proposal would have massing at the front with the long flat walls that are hidden by neighboring properties. I don't foresee any major issues.
What if we said in accordance with the site plan footprint?
You
Would that be acceptable to you, Mr. Groves? Yeah.
You say footprint, we're not changing.
Okay. That way, if there's a change in height or something that the BAR put, and then you just have to come back here for some silly reason, I don't want you to have to do that. I don't want us to have to do that. So, okay. All right. Further questions, discussion? All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for approval with condition that the print as presented is. Gosh, I'm having a hard time with terminology here.
Yeah, the site plans that the setback variance will be in accordance with the site plan footprint.
That works for me.
Okay. All right, so we've got a motion. Is there a second?
One second.
All right, Mr. Huey seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. So just for posterity here, approval with the condition that the variance does not extend beyond the site plan footprint as presented to the BZA-Z.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Great. All right, the next item on our agenda, we're skipping over A4, which is deferred. We're on to A5, 57 Ash Street, Cannonboro, Elliottboro, Council District 6, TMS number 460-00-01-100, zone DR2F. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build a 2-story rear porch addition with a 1-foot rear setback, 3 feet are required. A 1-foot east side setback, 3 feet are required. A variance to exceed maximum lot coverage, 75% of proposed, 57% is existing. 50% is allowed to build a two-story porch addition and a variance from section 54-506G to build a utility platform that exceeds the maximum allowed height, 9 feet are allowed. The owners are Jim and Joette Ruberg. The applicant is Greg Demeter. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this property is just off the corner of Line and Ash Street, as you can see here. Very much a DR2F neighborhood. Again, this is one where the blocks are a little different in terms of how they've been laid out. This property, though, generally conforms to similar blocks in terms of it is a rectangle. But also, as you can see here on the zoning map, and you can see here on the aerial, the property is pretty built out to the site, which is why you have an issue with the fact that it's already exceeding lot coverage. There you can see a couple different aerial perspectives there. That one a good view of the side where the new construction for the utility platform is being proposed here, I believe. So you can see here on their survey, they have drawn in where the new back porch is going to go. And then, did we get an updated utility platform? So you can see the existing house. You can see where they have the proposed kind of wraparound porch here for the existing first floor, and then the second floor. And then again, you can kind of see that in the elevation, how you would have, I believe it's screening, but you'd essentially have a fully screened in ground floor porch, and then more of a patio style balcony on the second level. Just some roofing. Again, the thought we had requested, but maybe didn't get it. The other part of this variance, though, is a utility platform that the applicant or the property owner had gotten a permit for. However, in execution, it's exceeding that permit to do an elevated utility stand, and is morphed into more of a full area for the storage of their trash receptacles and some other stuff at a height that would exceed what is allowed for that utility stand on the side. And now it's step. This is what it's next. And then this is up to the business. Okay. Just making sure. There's just so many items. I wanted to make sure I hadn't missed putting this with a different one. This is a staff recommendation for denial. It is in two parts. There is essentially two independent elements occurring on this site at the same time. There's the variance to allow the two-story rear porch addition with the reduction in the setback of 1 foot in the rear, 1 foot on the east, and to further increase the lot coverage. And then there's the request for the variance to build a utility platform that exceeds the maximum allowable height. And staff is recommending denial on both of these, as we could not find compelling hardship for exceeding the height allowance that we already allow for the raising of the utility platform, or for the large exterior porch. You'll notice in your public comment packet, there are a number of comments that have been received on this project, both related from when it was originally submitted, as well as some for tonight's meeting. Additionally, the applicant, I believe, had submitted some responses to some of those public comments that had been previously submitted. And there's some photos that you can see attached as well. But again, staff could not justify a hardship in either case, as well as concerns for impacts on the proposal to the neighboring properties.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have people who are here in opposition to the application for 57 Ash? If you're here in opposition, raise your hand so I can see you. Okay, I see you. And so we'll hear from the owner of 57.
Yeah, hello, my name is Jim Ruber and this is my wife Joette. And as you can see here, we're really looking to maximize the outdoor space to be able to both provide some storage for our garbage and recycling receptacle, which would be underneath the HVAC. And by reference of the HVAC elevation for that utility platform, there are a variety of HVAC systems in the area. I know we provided a handful of pictures of similar constructs and actually ones that are not covered. And ours was proposed to be covered. So in terms of being a public nuisance or something that wouldn't be in architectural alignment, that is something we sought to address in the plan design. In relation to the porches themselves, where we wanted to maximize again the outside space for living, as was mentioned, with the screened-in porch below and then an open patio area on the top. So again, that we could spend as much time outside as possible. And for us, I think the big thing from my perspective, even if you would go back, potentially start to the original, one of the earlier pictures of the lot line and the orange here. Obviously it's a very small space right here, but even if you notice on here, this area right here is a parking lot where our neighbors park. And so to us, the visual reference even for any of our neighbors is minimal, if at all, right? So here at 55, they would need to come out of their property and look back to see whether it be the utility platform or come out in front here to look back at the porches. Again, this is a parking lot. There is, as referenced in the materials, a window here that kind of looks down into this driveway, our neighbors here at 59. And this area, there's actually a tree, and there's really no windows or anything on the backside of this property that would even be looking directly at the structures. So again, we felt like there was not going to be a substantial detriment to our neighbors relative to the visible aspects of the project. So those were some of the comments I wanted to make as well.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, anything to add?
Do you have, sorry, Joette Westerberg, do you have, I think we submitted our answer to public comments. Do you have that? Is it possible to, no, okay. I think I just wanted to say with that is that, what is the first requirement that needs to be met? Hardship, is that what it is for the?
There are extraordinary circumstances pertaining to the particular piece of property.
Yes, that's it. So for us, the house was built on 57% of the lots. Like there's been no additions. There hasn't been anything to it that has increased the size. That's just what it is. It's what it's always been. And there are no porches on the house. So there's a very small area along the side of the house and along the back. And we just really want to be able to, maximize and utilize this space as much as we can. Just all of our neighbors have porches. They have, our neighbor to the left has a 3-level porch. They have a rooftop porch. We just want to be able to use our outside and have porches just like our neighbors do. I don't feel like we're asking for anything that exceeds what they already have. Our neighbors in the back have their AC units up higher than the 3 to 6 feet. I mean, we look at their AC units right out of our kitchen window. So I guess that's what I'm just want to say is that we just want to be able to use and maximize that space. We want to enjoy our yards just like our neighbors do.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrook.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have anybody else who wishes to speak?
Yes. My name is Greg Dimitri. How are you?
Good.
I build a lot of these. And I went through the process with building. Everything has been a green light until we got to the zoning aspect. The actual HVAC system, which I did send in, unfortunately, we don't have it, but if you go to that, I'll tell you where it's gonna be. Right here. So right here, this little aspect right here, where the actual HVAC system is gonna go. And we were approved for it. Unfortunately, it was only for 3 feet, and we went back, got some more drawings. As you know, this is an expensive process. Going back, getting new drawings, going back, getting new drawings. So I worked with BAR and I said, we'd like to design this so it looked like we came with the house. And she said, no, we don't want to do that. We want to show the evolution of Charleston. And when people come by, they can see that this was the original house. And then here's what's been added. So we have all the intent to make sure we work hand in hand with BAR to make sure it's perfect. The other thing is that there's a porch. It's not it's not a concrete cement pad. It can always be removed, not that nobody wants to remove it, but it's a deck. Matter of fact, the back of the house has a French door that opens out to go on a deck. Who knows, maybe it had a deck at one time. What we're looking to do is get 1 foot off the line in the back, 1 foot off the line on a little bit of the side. Nothing to ask, that's not a big ask. These people spent over $1 million on this. They just want to go out on the porch and sit somewhere and enjoy themselves. It's not intruding on anybody's privacy. Like Jim said, the back is 2-car parking. The left, there's no windows. On the right, the owner said that it's going to block her sunlight. She keeps the blinds closed all the time. We've sent that in the picture too. They're always closed. And the thing is that the porch, the deck is not even in that area. Matter of fact, where the tree is, we're actually going around the tree, cutting a little bit of the deck off. So the tree actually doesn't have to be cut down. So we're doing whatever we have to do to make it so it's comfortable for everybody. I'm a little surprised that we're actually here to discuss a deck. But it is what it is. And we're here to work with everybody. We want everybody to be happy. It's hard to do. But we can design the railings. It's a screen porch underneath. I mean, it's really something that I think should not be denied. Because if you guys spend $1 million on a house like this, you probably, I bet you, most of you can go out on a porch or a deck. These poor people can't. Anyway, if you could look at that, I appreciate that. And I'm sure we'll hear some opposition, but they just want to enjoy Charleston, Southern charm, just like everybody else. So.
Thank you, sir. All right, anybody else who wishes to speak in support of the application? Seeing no one else to speak in support, we'll hear from those in opposition.
Hello, my name is Julie Spang. I am the person on the left with the 2-level deck at 55 Ash. And this has nothing to do with my opinion and everything to do with the ordinance. Before I bought my home, I did my due diligence. I came down to the city and I asked what would or would not be allowed to be built. And then I purchased my home relying on those ordinances being applied consistently. 57 Ash began building without a permit. They had a roughly 12-foot ledger attached to their house. They had 6x6 posts set into the ground, and they were beginning to frame the street-facing platform before their first stop work order came in. So just if I could ask a couple questions. One is that I know that, I believe that what they asked for the side setbacks were taking 3 feet down to 1. It's my understanding that it's actually 7 feet required on that side. Is that correct? We can fact check that, okay? Great. And so it is also my understanding that unless a lot has 60 feet in depth, you are not allowed to bring your mechanical units around the side without a variance. So I know that we're addressing the height, but I feel that all of it needs to be addressed. And so that's my other question. If the board does not move forward and approve tonight's variances, then does that platform that was illegally constructed need to come down?
So that one I can answer without, I'll look up. Yes, if there's anything that's been constructed that was done without permits or exceeds what was in the permit, if this is denied tonight, then they, as part of the zoning compliance, they would need to bring it into conformance. So if that means removing anything, it means removing anything. And so but that would be a zoning compliance process that we would work through with the property owner to remedy the situation.
Sure.
In the meantime, though, they would have, again, if this variance were denied, they would have the ability through the appeals process, and until that process resolves itself, they could not do any more work, but we would also not make them remove anything until the process had completed itself. So that would be the answer to that part of
That
the
makes
question.
sense. And then were you fact checking the?
The two of us are trying to look at that question about the setback being 7 feet versus 3 feet.
Perfect. I thought that I saw somewhere in your notes that it was the south side, which then made it the southwest requiring the 7-foot setback. So
Let me look at that while we're here.
fabulous. That's it from me.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, do we have others in opposition to the application? All right, seeing no one else in opposition, we'll allow a rebuttal from the owner.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to rebut. I feel like the key thing that comes to mind for me is obviously there are ordinances and there are ordinances for a reason. And I do respect that. And obviously we have a process to request relief and variations in that. And that's what we're going through here today. So while I respect, Julie's perspective, I can come back to, I think, some of the key aspects of what, to me, I feel like as a board should be considering, and what I heard earlier relative to things like, substantial detriment, public nuisance, these sorts of things. And at least from our perspective, we do not feel like this again is a substantial detriment to our neighbors. And certainly not a public nuisance, as we've been working with, architectural guidance from your broader office. So I think that's the key of my rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Greg Dimitri again. As I can appreciate the neighbor's concern with the ordinances, thank you. We're here because we're here to get some variances for the ordinance. I think that's important. The other thing is that in going around the area, including one of the ones on 125 Line Street, these HVAC systems are way up in the air. All we want to do is make a platform so they can put their garbage cans underneath it and be able to take the HVAC systems, which are currently in the back of the house, and just put them on the side in the back. Nobody can see them back there. Plus, I said we're working with the bar on it. So we'd love to have an approval, but if we don't, we're going to go to appeals. That's just the way it is. These people came, spent the money, they deserve to have an outdoor living space.
Could you address, while you're there, could you address the stop work orders that were referenced?
Yes, we had we're moving the HVAC systems because we already have it on, we already had it in the back. So we're replicating it. We did do plans for the taller HVAC system, which was approved. It was actually a mistake. What happened was, when I went to get the approval for the platform, it was approved, and they said, well, you have an approval on a 3-foot platform. But go get the plans and change the plan so you can have a taller platform. So spent the money for the new plans, building approved it. Then we got back to zoning. She says, oh no, I shouldn't have even given you the approval for the current platform. I said, well, there's a platform in the back. All we want to do is move it to the side. And there was confusion, hence the stop work order. And that's why we're here tonight. Chris was very instrumental in saying, hey, look, don't do it on December 16th, defer it and do it all at one time. So that's where, so no work has been done since then. And we're hoping that it's going to be a positive outcome tonight.
All right, thank you, sir. Questions, discussion?
Just for the record, the question that was brought up. So, again, the encroachment is on this, east, and rear, and so it is a 3-foot setback. The 7-foot setback would be for, a west side setback.
All right. Can you explain again, because it's been a long time, Summerfield, the city's reasoning for the denial recommendations? Talk about that.
So our denial is mainly related to parts of the test 3 and 4.
Okay.
The request is not does not impact the ability to continue to make proper use of the property as a residence. Again, the fact that other people have porches and this property doesn't, that's, I mean, lots of people, some people have a game room. I don't have a game room. I love a game room, but so that argument that somebody else has something I don't, unfortunately, is not of use. And the difference here between this and other variances that we have recommended for, that are relatively modest, are that this is not to add a bathroom to a, 3-4 bedroom house. This is not to add a bedroom for an expanding family. This is it's a porch. Additionally, the height on the utility, we just adopted changes in the code to try to make that more consistent with our resilience goals. However, again, it's just like with the park under situation. We've made rules so that you can lift your house and we won't count it as a story. But if you go far enough that you can park your car under it and you go above what is the required, then we count it as a story, because then you're, in some ways, you're kind of using the grace, if you would, that the amendments to the code have done, and just taking it to the next level, if you would. So so that's that. Number 2, because there was some concerns about how close in proximity at 1 foot this is to neighboring properties. While yes, that area is used for parking right now, that property could be used for something else into the future potentially. Again, the same thing with the other neighboring property. The fact that 1 foot, I mean, 3 feet is already in many people's minds a pretty close proximity. It's barely a maintenance corridor, but down to 1 feet, how do you get back there and maintain anything relative to what's being proposed after everything's been built up? So those are our concerns mainly. As I mentioned at the offset, we did acknowledge that this block is a little different. This house already exceeds the lot coverage. So again, acknowledging that, and acknowledging that that is something that happens on a number of properties within this block. So it's, it does have some of those issues. It is at the narrowest end of this block. So this block gets wider as it goes down. So in terms of just the way the lot depths work, this does have one of the shallower lot depths. But really it was parts 3 and 4 of the test that were of concern to staff.
Thank you. Discussion, question?
Was the city opposed to having any outdoor space? I mean, was it too large, or is it just?
So we have no issue with them having outdoor space if it could conform. Again, I don't know that we ever saw any options that were less than what's currently proposed. Except for, like I said, the utility platform, which when it came in for permitting, did not show itself in the permitting process to be as extensive as what ultimately was being built, which is again why we had to do the stop work order. We've added that Chris has worked with the applicant's contractor to add that to this request. But no, I've not seen any alternatives to evaluate whether or not there was in fact something that would provide them some outdoor living space while being a little bit more maybe in the spirit of the code, if not exactly code compliant. But any addition, to be clear, any addition would require a variance for lot coverage.
Can we speak or are we done?
You're done.
Oh.
Unless somebody has a question for you specifically.
So yeah, so if you, Mr. Chairman, just want, since I've got the floor plan here. So based on the measurements that are here, so, you know, in order to be compliant, they need to bring this in, I believe it's a 3-foot rear. Yeah, so, you know, they'd lose, so they'd be a 4-foot deck towards the rear, and then on this side, you know, they'd need to bring that in at another 2 feet, which may prove to be an issue for the stairs.
The 4-foot or a 3 or 5 foot? If you've got a foot.
I'm sorry, you're right, 5 foot. Yeah, I don't, yeah, again, planner, not engineer.
So there are options.
We're good friends.
There
Yeah,
are
I believe
options.
they probably have options. I will acknowledge though, that in order to build a compliant stair over here. Not sure what this distance is, whether or not they can do all of that. I would leave that to design professional, but yes, I believe that there would be options that could get them some outdoor space. Maybe not quite as much as they are presently looking for, that would be more compliant with the setbacks. Again, we'd still have to have a conversation about lot coverage.
Yeah.
But again, I think there are some conversations around lot coverage.
Thank you.
And if you scroll down a little bit, the second floor element, same thing, come back forward, they could be like a Juliet or something up there.
Yeah. Well, again, they'd have the 5 feet on the second floor as well. They could play with for the
Right.
balcony, yeah.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't have 7 feet.
Would you please change the slide to the city's recommendations? All right, Mr. DaVinci, I'll give you 2 sentences.
The neighbor also tried to waive that she would like to speak.
Oh, everybody. Well, 1 sentence.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Give you a penny.
Quickly, please. Very quickly.
I can design it in a way where if we can do the bottom platform, which is about 3 feet high to get to them, because it's gonna be lifted, it's not gonna be a concrete pad. And if we need to, on the second floor, I can pull back. So we have it, so they got a deck at the bottom, which is covered by the fence, nobody can see that. And then on the second story, we pull back and then and make it a smaller platform. Maybe come off 2 feet versus 1 foot at the top or something, so they can at least enjoy themselves a little bit.
Got it.
We can modify it, no problem.
Okay.
And it's 8 feet, by the way, from the house to the neighbor's side where the platform is.
Very, very briefly.
My question.
No,
was
you gotta
just-
come to the mic.
My question was just when you had that, like the layout pulled up, that does not have the platform that proposed HVAC form on it, correct?
Correct. The current site plan does not reflect the utility platform.
Fantastic, thank you.
Actually, it does, you just don't have it here. I've sent it, but you just don't have it.
Got it.
I don't love the idea of dragging this on too much longer, but I do wonder if there's some additional information we could benefit from having, and certainly if they're proposing or considering alternative designs, it seems like a deferral may be approach to give them an opportunity to revise this, but I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that idea.
Yeah, so if they were to come up with a plan that was a little bit reduced in scope, I understand they'll still have the need for the variance, but would they have the year wait period if they came back with something that was substantially different?
No, so if they do have something that is different related to essentially the setbacks, because again, we'll have a lot coverage issue. Because of the scale of this, I would say any reduction in the request would be a substantial difference. So if it were denied tonight, but they were to come back with a revised plan, they would not need to wait the 6 months to resubmit. Provided that there was a change in a difference. If it was deferred, it's deferred until they are ready to bring whatever their revisions forward would be. The only thing there would be, and it's not a big issue because again, we're talking less than what was advertised. It just won't be re-advertised under a deferral, except in the agenda that goes on the web. So there wouldn't be a new newspaper notice or anything like that.
Right.
Reflecting what the new request would be.
But they're not prejudiced by a denial. They can come back with.
I don't believe so, no, because based on this discussion, a denial would just mean that they go back, they make some adjustments, and then they could resubmit within the normal 6 months that they couldn't.
And I know I heard reference to an appeal. An appeal would potentially put them into mandatory mediation, and maybe they can work something out. The city would recommend.
Correct, yeah, and I mean, to be honest, it would almost be quicker to come back with a new application to this board.
Right.
Since it sounds like maybe there's some sympathy for something.
Right.
Because mediation can take quite a bit of time and no disrespect to your profession, but lawyers are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so mediation requires a lawyer for each side and a independent lawyer to mediate the thing. And so those can be expensive for both parties.
Okay, any questions? Ready to make a motion?
Did you make a motion?
I did not.
Okay. I would move for denial for both requests.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion on the table to deny both requests. We've got it duly seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motions are denied. We do sympathize with you. And I'd love to see you have some outdoor living space. It just seemed like what was being proposed was a little bit too much for the board and the city to be able to recommend, but I would urge you to work with your builder and try to provide something that's a little bit reduced in scope, and I think you might be fortunate enough to have a good result. So thank you.
Mr. Ruberg and Mr. Demetri, if you all would contact Chris, we can set up a meeting before your appeals window would close. So we can just discuss in more detail what your options, if you want to move forward, and then give you time to appeal if you so choose to do that route.
I think the best choice is to work and see if we can work it out, make some modifications.
Yeah, and you can do that when you're not in a public hearing. Thank you.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda is A7.
B7. All right, oh my God, we're still in the A's. I'm sorry.
It's okay. A7, we've deferred 211 Rutledge Avenue. We're now at A7, 2122 Prescott Avenue, Silver Hill, Magnolia, Council District 4. EMS number 464-10-00-074, zoned SR1. Requesting a special exception under section 54-501 to build a single-family residence on a lot of insufficient size. 2,145 square feet are existing, 9,000 square feet are required. And variances from section 54-301 to establish a 2.5-foot setback, a 3-foot rear setback, and a 5-foot east setback, 25 feet and 9 feet required. The owner is MDM Development. The applicant is Ford Smith. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you will recall this item from your, I believe it was your last agenda. The board actually moved related to the special exception for the lot of insufficient size. So that part of this request has actually been addressed by your prior meeting. Tonight, we are discussing the setback variance request as the applicant was not present to be able to talk about those setback requests. Unfortunately, we found out after the fact that Mr. Ford or Mr. Smith, two last names. Anyway, that Mr. Smith had a emergency at his home that prevented him from being able to be here or to contact us to let us know he wasn't going to be able to be here. And so he is here this evening to answer your questions about the setbacks. Again, you can see here on the aerial of the site, this is a small residential neighborhood that does have a number of properties that are being redeveloped or built on. Finally, see that there. This is the house that the kind of model that's been proposed for this site. It is again a relatively modest home for size, at least. The lot, because of again, this is an area that was planned way before the zoning that we've imposed. And so in addition to not meeting the lot size at 9,000 square feet, being only a 21,000 square foot lot, as you can imagine, trying to build anything on this, it's going to have some difficulty, not just with that lot coverage or the lot area requirement, but also with the various development standards, specifically in this case, the setback requirements. You can see on the floor plans that, again, they're not requesting to build anything extensive. It would be a 3-4 bedroom home, great room, kitchen, kind of all that open concept stuff. Again, here is the architecture. This is not in BAR territory, so there would be no architectural review for this. Architecture is not what this board is here to discuss. We would, again, it's not a condition at present, but we would just ask the applicant to maybe do a deeper dive into the history of the neighborhood and whether or not this architecture is the architecture that they would want to go with. But again, that would be completely up to the applicant really at this point. So again, the board in their meeting on December 16th did approve the special exception. So that is no longer part of the discussion tonight. It's just this variance request to establish these reduced setbacks. And again, for all the reasons discussed, staff is continuing to recommend approval of these variances.
All right, thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 2021-22 Trescott? Being no one in opposition, is Mr. Smith here? Sir?
Thank you. Apologies for my absence. It was the night after the big freeze and I had a property pipe burst. Water was everywhere. You guys have seen me up here plenty of times. Normally I'm always here. But yeah, the plan is to build a home. May not be that particular house, as I heard comments last time calling it a gingerbread home, which is pretty funny. I watched the meeting. But the reason why this particular plan on there is I am 2110 Trescott, same size lot, and I just copied the plan that I had to get, the variances and the special exemption instead of going through drawing a completely different plan in a rushed time frame. It is a super small lot. Also, in order to get any sort of parking on there, you got to push it all to one side, as you can see right here. So all the parking would essentially be on this side. It's a super small street as well, Trescott. It's not any off-street parking besides driveways. A lot of people are using these vacant lots as parking currently. So we wanted to make sure there was plenty of parking. And then again, we really do need the setbacks to really build anything. Could you flip over to the application though? Because I thought there was another request for a lot coverage on there. Right here, 58%.
There was a request for, but,
Is that not what this?
well, let's see. We were talking about lot of insufficient size has been resolved. Lot coverage issue still in play?
Yeah.
It was on the last one.
Somehow with everything, the lot coverage did not get advertised, so we'll need to do that one in yet another
No,
separate
I don't
request.
think it was on the screen on the last one, but I could be wrong.
Don't think so.
It's okay. But yeah, basically just trying to build a home. Like I said, we're building one on 2110 Trescott. Similar footprint. Haven't started construction yet. This neighborhood has various different types of architecture. There are older homes, there's brand new construction homes. This is a similar size square foot to the brand new construction homes. And we're just looking forward to bringing another home to the neighborhood, to serve more families.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I guess we're gonna have to, renotice. Or
You can act on the setbacks, and then we'll have to do, the city will just have to, write a new, variance request for lot coverage. But at least with the setbacks, you can start drawing whatever that plan is.
anybody have any questions, any discussions? Anybody ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion appropriate.
All right, Mr. McKay moves approval. Okay, Mr. Bennett seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. The setback variances are granted and then, deal with the lot coverage issue. Make sure you're.
Crystal will break out to you so we can get that on.
Okay, for meeting there. Appreciate you guys. Sorry about last meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, now we're at the B. New applications, B1, 36 South Street, East Side, Council District 4, unit number 459-09-03-027, then DDR2F, requesting the first one-year extension of vested rights that expire on December 31, 2025, pursuant to section 54-962. The extension is for a special exception to extend the non-conforming west side setback. The owner is Kyle Parker. The applicant is Aaron Humans. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so we'll see a few of these tonight and we'll see a few more, I expect tomorrow with the expiration of the joint resolution that extended, well, didn't extend, froze the time periods for vesting periods for entitlements, including the entitlements that you all grant as a part of this body. So this is the first one-year extension for this project for a special exception. Again, this is on South Street here in the block between Hanover and America Street. And you can see the house there. Staff is recommending approval of this request. This request does date back to 2020. It is the first extension though, because of that joint resolution. And they would have potentially 4 more requests after this. If for some reason they weren't ready to move forward with their project.
All right, thank you, Robert. Anybody opposed to the application for 36 South Street? Big no and opposed. Do we have the owner applicant? We don't have the owner applicant. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Second. Richard seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. Unanimously, the first one-year extension of the vested rights for 36 South Street is granted. Next item on our agenda, B2, 9 Lord Ashley Drive, South Windermere, Council District 11. PMS number 421-05-00-078, zoned SR2. Requesting the first one-year extension to vested rights that expire on December 31, 2025, pursuant to section 54-962. The extension is for a special exception to extend a non-conforming east side setback and a variance for an 8-foot front setback, 25 feet are required. The owners applicants are Kent and Catherine Flanagan. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, like the previous one, this is the first 1-year extension coming out of the time period freeze for vested rights from the joint resolution. One of the things I should have noted on the last one, I'll note here for the record for this and subsequent extensions. Extensions are by statute to be granted unless there has been some substantial change in the area or the code that would result in a real true reason to not do it. So again, by statute, we're kind of required to approve these, and they get up to 5 1-year extensions once their vesting, the regular 2-year vesting period comes to an end. So in this case, there has been no change in any of the zoning or the circumstances surrounding the site. You can see, again, the property, all of the conditions still apply. And so staff is recommending approval of this extension, and they would be eligible for up to 4 additional 1-year extensions should they not be able to move forward with this project this year.
All right, thank you, Robert. Anybody here to oppose 9 Lord Ashley Drive? Seeing no one in opposition, do we have the owner or applicant? Anything you'd like to say to the board?
No, sir. Thank you for your
Okay,
information.
a motion.
Move for approval.
All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously, and the first 1-year extension of vested rights 9 Lord Ashley Drive is granted. Thank you.
Should be noted that member Bennett was refused on this item.
Yeah. All right, the next item on our agenda. D3, 56 State Street, French Quarter, Council District 8, PMS number 458-05-03-108 MGB. Requesting the first 1-year extension of vested rights that expire on December 31st, 2025 pursuant to section 54-962. The extension is for a special exception to allow a 50-unit accommodations use. The owner is 56 State SC Property LLC. The applicant is Womble Bond Dickinson US LLP, James Wilson. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so just like in the previous ones, all of the information I discussed regarding vested rights and the joint resolution apply. This is the first 1-year extension for this special exception for this property at Cumberland and State. Again, everything is in order here in terms of the conditions have not generally changed. The request is still in order. And so staff is recommending approval of this. Again, they would be eligible for up to 4 additional 1-year extensions should they not move forward with this project in the coming year.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here who is opposed to the application for 56 State Street? Seeing no one in opposition, Mr. Wilson, you want to just let us vote? All right, thank you. Do I have a motion? Move approval. All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second? Second. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously. Mr. McKay has been recused from the vote. And the 1-year extension of vested rights for 56 State Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda, B4, 8488 Society Street, Ansonboro, Council District 8, TMS number 457-04-04-025. Zone GB requesting the first 1-year extension of vested rights that expire on December 31, 2025 pursuant to section 54-962. The extension is for a special exception to allow a 50-unit accommodations use. The owner is GS LLC Acquisitions LLC. Applicant is Brian Hellman and Yates, PA. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm going to apologize. Our slide is wrong for the neighborhood and TSM, but the agenda is correct. So no issues with moving forward tonight on this item. You can see where this property is here on Society Street. The aerial Again, all of the comments I've made with regard to vested rights and the joint resolution apply. This is the first one-year extension for this location. They will be eligible for up to 4 additional one-year extensions following this one. If they should not get underway this year, staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you. Anybody here in opposition for the application at 8488 Society Street? Seeing no one in opposition, Mr. Hellman, anything to add? All right, do I have a motion? All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there, Mr. McKay seconds the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously. The first one-year extension of vested rights for 8488 Society Street is granted. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda has been withdrawn, so that brings us to B6. 883 Michael Drive, James Island, Council District 12, PMS number 454-09-00-001, zoned SR1 School Overlay Zone, requesting a special exception under section 54-225 to increase the square footage of an existing school. The owner is Charleston County School District. The applicant is ADC Engineering, Chris Cook, PE. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is an SR1 property with the school, as you can see here in the aerial. Because of schools require be in the overlay, and the overlay is required a special exception should the schools expand or significantly change their site plan or site design. You can see here in the aerial how the school is built on the site, the existing entry there, and then parking field. So you can see in this aerial, this straight up aerial here, the existing way that folks access the site, come in for queuing, in all of the fact that they have 2 kind of entrances for that. In the proposed layout, they would actually be connecting those, which provides a much larger through queuing space. One of the big issues that we have on James Island, to be honest, we have it everywhere since too many kids can't walk or ride their bike to school, is we have lines of parents out on the street blocking because they're queuing to get onto the school properties, which is where we require them to be dropped off. This new layout will enhance that ability for the queuing, entering the site, exiting the site. In addition to some site reconfiguration to allow for that, they would be proposing a new retention pond, as well as a new built element to the existing school. Staff is recommending approval of this increased square footage and is very complimentary to the school district, acknowledging the issue. We've heard from the neighborhood a bit about backups that can occur because of the queuing to get onto the school site. And so I think the school district is being extremely proactive in this approach, and connecting all of that. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the special exception for the expansion, this relatively small expansion.
All right, thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 883 Michael Drive? Being no one in opposition, Mr. Cook, you have anything to add, or you?
Available to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, anybody have any questions, or do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, Mr. McKay moves to approve. Is there a second? I saw Mr. Richards' hand up. Okay, so Ms. Richards seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Opposed, the motion passes unanimously, and the special exception for 883. All right, the next item on our agenda, B7. 1100 to 1104 King Street, North Central, Council District 4, TMS number 463-12-03-116 and 117, Zone GB, requesting a variance from section 54-317 to provide 12 off-street parking spaces. 15 are required for a proposed mixed-use development. The owner is FAV Hall LLC, the applicant, Tyler Smith. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so this is property on King Street, just a little north of Romney. As you can see, it has a very odd shape because of, I believe it was railroad right away. And so you can see how this is on the aerial here. Really, the area of non-built area is this kind of railroad spur kind of thing that comes off the back. All of the rest of the site, specifically all of the area on the King Street frontage, is built. These are historic buildings. You can see that again, in order to park on this site, you have to come from the back, from the Simmons Street side. These are older properties that have seen a lot and are being proposed for some renovation. Unfortunately, they've been vacant long enough that their non-conforming status was expired. And so with this variance, this will address the fact that they have traditionally not had the on-site parking. They've had very limited opportunities for parking. However, these are traditionally commercial spaces. They've been commercial spaces for a very long time. And we would love to see them rehabilitated and re-tenanted. So with that, again, there's substantial renovations that are occurring here. I think they're gonna be residential now, right?
On the second floor, yes.
On the second floor, yeah.
It's on the second level.
Yeah, so commercial ground floor, residential on the upper levels. So again, a really nice mix, providing new energy in this particular area of King Street, which I think is great. Complements some other development and reuse, such as the church building that Mr. Smith is working on, as well as some other properties that are being done. So again, this is a variance. It is for parking. However, this is existing building. They're creatively using the spur to accommodate their parking so that they can address their new program. And staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you, Robert. Anybody here to speak in opposition to the application for 1100 to 1104 King Street?
And we did receive three
Comments and support.
three comments in support, including from the neighborhood association.
Thank you. All right, anybody have opposition? Seeing no one in opposition, Mr. Smith, anything to add? Yes. All right. Got a question from Ms. Rance.
Do for the applicant, please.
Please come up to the stand, thanks.
Thank you. So today I went and looked at the site, and I'm obviously in support of revitalizing the commercial uses and the buildings along King Street, but I'm extremely concerned about the parking on that dead end street of Simmons. Not quite sure about how you're going to accommodate, bumper to bumper cars on that road and how they're going to turn around. I thought it was the responsibility of our board to make sure that cars could maneuver. I'm not sure how they're going to get in and out. Today, when I walked back there was a car that had to go all the way down to Simmons, which is actually dead ends right at the right of what we can't see on this site plan, but they had to turn around in the neighbor's yard. So I'm concerned about the parking flow, and I don't know if it's going to tie into the parking that you got approval, I guess, from city council when you came before this board. And so I don't know if it's supposed to tie into that, or so I'm concerned about the parking plan.
Sure. The parking sorry, the parking lane in the back is actually 25 feet wide. And each of those spaces is actually 23 feet long, which is about 5 feet longer than a car. So that's as long as a parallel parking space ordinarily is. So it's not like a car will be going bumper to bumper as it might appear on this drawing. As far as how they will park, they will go in parallel parking here as one does on the side of a street. We do have 12 parking spaces that will be accommodated. We're 3 short of zoning, so we have 80% of the required parking that zoning requires. Many of the other spaces in this area have little to none at all. So this is more than most, and they're actually taking off a portion of the back of the building to shorten the building a little bit to actually accommodate another parking space in the back and to allow direct access through to the rear yard there, which currently is completely blocked off. The buildings, the adjacent buildings sort of touch. So as
How
far
will
as,
people be able to turn around though if they pull in? Then how will they be? Will they have to back all the way out of the road?
yes, ma'am, I believe that they'll be backing all the way out to the street, which is a low traffic street. There's very little traffic on the street, but this was worked through with the city in terms of the maneuverability of the parking, and the city believes that it's okay. This is, by the way, been used for parking for what was the fabulous Allen Bright Hall, which is the 2 structures that are next to each other, 1104 and 1102, for many decades. So it's really not a new use for parking. It's been used for that since before I was living around here, which is a long time ago. And one thing I would add is that Simmons Street is an extraordinarily low traffic street. There's basically, it is a 1-block dead end street right there. So backing out onto it is a materially safe thing to do. It's not, the cars aren't flying past there. They couldn't.
Well, they're not, but how are you going to back 12 cars out if 3 people need to leave at the same time? I guess I'm more concerned too about, because it's a very short dead end street and there are older homes, families have lived there a long time. I'm concerned about what all this traffic will do is in regards to impacting their livability, because it will be, if you just think about it for a second, cars backing out onto Simmons all night or all day. I'm not sure what the hours or what's going to be in these uses, but I'm just having I wish that we had a parking plan or some kind of parking study or traffic study or something.
Yes, ma'am. I can't speak to that at this moment. I don't know that there's been an additional parking study done in over and above what's already been run through with the city. There will be 3 commercial spaces here on King Street. Only 1 is occupied now. There is an office space on the 2nd level that it was built very poorly years ago, and that's going to be replaced by 4 apartments in a city that needs. These are not short-term rentals; these are real apartments, long-term rentals. And of course, I think you read the news. We know we need that. So 4 apartments over 3 commercial spaces on King Street doesn't seem to be an exuberant amount of space. It's mainly it's only 1 level now, besides some little small 2nd level office space. So we'll have a 2-story building that is more befitting of the area. Most all the buildings in the area are 2-story, and so we do think that with this relatively modest variance request for 3 of the spaces that would be required, 12 are accommodated. The good outweighs the bad, and we think we do meet the variance test. I'm happy to go through it with you if you like.
Do you plan on tying this drive or parking area into your property?
There is no plan for that, no ma'am. To accommodate the 12 parking spaces that they have on their property, which is completely independent of what we're doing. They need every bit of that driveway that they have there.
And the four units is this their parking as well, the residential units?
I believe that the parking accommodated at the back is going to accommodate the mix of all the spaces. So both the King Street fronted commercial spaces and the 4 apartments in the second level.
And did y'all try to secure parking anywhere else besides this?
They did, and I can say firsthand with the work that we've done, there is no available commercial parking for rent in this area, much less than 400 feet. At some point, we would love for the city to perhaps build a parking garage or to better develop the parking underneath I-26, which I think is coming. I believe that as part of a phase 2 of the parking development associated with the Low Line project, that they will develop parking underneath 26. So there will be more parking coming, and I think pretty soon. It's just not, you may be able to speak to this, Robert, but it's not on the plans as far as I know right now. They're building 2 other parking spaces or parking lots on Shepherd Street and 1 under 26 at UG Street. And because Romney is such a important east-west artery going through the uptown, it only makes sense that they would have some more parking up there too, but I don't know when that's going to happen. I hope soon.
Well, and I mean, I applaud you for, trying to find the spaces. I live very close by, and with the new commercial uses that this board has approved, parking is becoming a real issue on the streets. And so I applaud that. I just am very concerned about this parking plan. I just don't really see how the cars can back out all that, the distance down that drive onto a street, and then also all that traffic not impacting the residents on that side. And I do not live in this side, so just for.
Is it a 2-way drive? Like, is it?
It is not a 2-way drive. It's a drive in and a back out. I don't believe that turning around here would be something that would be easy. But the lane is actually 25 feet wide, plenty of space to drive in and parallel park.
Is it 25 feet with the parking or independent of the parking space, or is it 25?
25 feet counting
Total.
the parking, which is approximately 8 feet wide. So you've got a 17-foot wide drive lane.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, I just want to, for the record, be clear on a couple of things. So one, staff's recommendation for approval is based off the fact that the site has previously been occupied, did not have a lot of additional parking. This area had previously been used for parking in some capacity, and so continuing to use it. So we didn't request a maneuverability plan. My understanding was that the applicant has spoken with T&T about the backing out onto Simmons. My understanding is those conversations have been had with the folks who manage that. I will say, though, that this redevelopment of this site, I believe, will have to go through TRC. And so they will be looking more specifically at those engineering details that really aren't clear in just the site plan that you have right now, which while a valid architectural site plan is not what would be required for the technical drawings and the technical requirements for this space. So I will put it out there that this would not be the final say on that, and that may result in them having to come back and ask for an amendment to this variance if they need to do some additional things and reduce spaces in order to achieve maneuverability.
But the only thing that we're here today is to determine whether to approve a variance for 12 off-street parking spaces, 15 that would be required under the ordinance. And that's something that the city obviously has studied and has recommended approval for this.
Correct. Again, we believe that there is, again, the context of the site being what it is, the weirdness of the lot and the way you access it off of that back part on Simmons. The fact that we did not get any letters of opposition, all we got was recommendations for support, including from the neighborhood association. And while I do completely understand Ms. Grass's concerns for the fact that this will add cars that have not been there for a while, I don't know, and it will add more cars than maybe were there because there will be new uses with that residential where it was previously nothing or office. It is a very low volume dead end street, and so from a staff perspective, we did not anticipate that it will substantially change the character of the neighborhood by improving.
Okay,
Can I add
and I'm
one
not
more
a
thing?
traffic engineer, so I don't know that I can substitute my judgment for.
Well, that's
cities
one
on
thing
that.
I wanted to add is
Go ahead.
that people are parking on that street for the bakery and the wine shop and all the other uses. So they are parking on that street already. So it's already seeing an increase. And I'm not complaining about that. I'm just stating. I mean, it is being used.
I tend to agree with you, Ms. Grass, and yeah, I do have a concern about the traffic, but at the same time, it's incumbent upon the applicant to figure out how to make it work, you know, and so I guess from where I said that they were able to make it work previously under so from a grandfathering perspective, I think there's probably a good argument to be made that there is a way. I guess I'm inclined to approve, lean towards approval on this one.
Any other discussion?
I'll make a motion for approval then.
Okay. Is there a second? Mr. McKay seconds the motion. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, Ms. Grass is opposed. Motion carries by a vote of 5-1, and the variance for 1110, 1104 King Street is granted. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda, B8, 0 Jelliston Street, James Island, Council District 12, TMS number 421-06-00-129, zoned RR1. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build a detached single-family home with a 12-foot front setback, 7-foot rear setback, and an 8-foot west side setback, 50 feet, 35 feet, and 15 feet of required. The owner is Lizelle Walker. The applicant is Thomas P. King III. Mr. Summer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the site here. It is in an RR1 designation, which is one of our least intensive zoning districts. You can also see that it's on, I want to call it a flag lot, but it looks more like a corn pipe to me. So it is on a very oddly shaped lot. I want to say that this was platted while it was still in the county and not in the city's jurisdiction. Because I'm hoping we didn't approve this one or the neighboring lot, yeah. Anyway, so you see that it does have an extremely difficult situation with the way the lot is placed in there. I think it worked well when it was a manufactured or a mobile home that was on the lot, even though looking at that, it looks like it's right on the property line. But it does create difficulty meeting a building envelope for the R1 setback requirement. So you can see here on the site plan where they're proposing to build the house. Again, it's kind of in the widest part of that rear part of the lot. Addressing the fact that it is set way back from the curb line, if you would, of the property, even though it's got some issues with regard to various setbacks. They did a nice job here kind of drawing where the building envelope based on setbacks is, which again is not only a very small area of the lot, but unless they're doing a flat iron, kind of thing, I don't know that you're gonna build a single family home that would be representative of an RR1 standard in there. So the variance request for the detached single family home with these setback requirements or setback requests are being recommended for approval. Again, we think that there is a hardship from the lot configuration and context. It's built way back from the street, so its impact on others is pretty, not really there.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody opposed to the application at 0 Delliston Street? All right, seeing no one opposed, do we have the owner or applicant present? All right, anything you'd like to say? You don't have to.
I almost don't want to come out there.
So discretion is the better part of valor.
You know, you're making me, should I fast?
Less is more.
It was subdivided in the county in, from what I understand, the early 80s, and then I think annexed in the early 2000s. There was little to no information to confirm that from either municipality. I did want to just talk about the other hardship that's there, that is a strong control factor. In order to get, well, you cannot put sewer or a septic tank on this lot. It's too small. There's no engineered system. There's nothing that I can figure out that would work. The 300-foot maximum distance that the PSD is adopted, James Bond PSD, I demonstrated that on, those green letters and the green line that I drew. That's why I need that house to be that far up so that I can be within that 300 feet and have wastewater access. And here's where I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. When I was speaking with Chris, okay, and I do not want to put words in Chris's mouth. I'm just basing this on memory. The 12-foot request right there, I don't know that that was my request. That's just how much I have left right there. And the 7 and the 8, my memory is that I don't remember requesting specific numbers, and I'm a little worried that I know that's 12 feet to that corner. This is I did these drawings, I did the scales. I just don't want to get approval for something and then go, oh, well, it's 11 or it's 10. So if with this approval, am I bound to this if it ends up, in other words, if I need 10 feet there to give me the 7, I think that it's officially requested, am I?
Yeah, but then you got problems and we got problems.
Yeah.
Because then it wasn't noticed correctly, and so you'd have a technical problem there. So I hope your scale was working. That
My scale works. I will accept your decision here.
Mr. Summerhill, one quick thing, if you could go back to the first slide, I think you might have highlighted. Lot, I believe it's this one right here.
Right.
Up to middle one. It's not a mistake.
By the way, that's a container. That's not a mobile home. It's a shipping container.
Yeah, you're right, Tom.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's all right. It didn't matter. I just thought I'd clarify that.
Okay. That's good. Anybody have any questions for the applicant owner? All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Bennett seconds it. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? No opposed. The motion passes unanimously, and the variance for 0 Delliston Street is granted. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Right. All right, the next item on our agenda, we're at the 915 BZA-Z, Charleston, Council District 8. CMS number 458-03-03-087. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 to exceed maximum lot coverage 44.8% of coast, 35% is allowed. Single family home owner is Elizabeth C. Simmons. The applicant is Sebastian Von Marshall, Architect LLC, Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the site here on, that's not
Eden Valley.
Eden's Alley. Thank you. On Eden's Alley, this is south of St. Michael's Alley, I don't know, or Elliott Street. Just kind of on the back side of the block that borders on Church Street. You can see it is, here, we did have a footprint from the prior building, but it is a vacant lot now. Devon Marshall, this team has put together a pretty robust response to the variance test. You can see the proposed house here. They provided some beautiful historic photos and Sanborn maps. All of this stuff is related really to their BRR submission more so than us, but they're pretty pictures. And so you can see here, and I'm trying to remember which lot this is. Oh, here it is. So here is the property that is being proposed, kind of, you can see it at the street level. And now, okay. So on this one, so this has previously been to the BZA. That is important to note. Unfortunately, as you read the information that was provided, there was a miscalculation. And it's going to get corrected if I'm remembering the order of operation here. But the surveyor had miscalculated where the boundary lines were. And so after they started some work on the site, they got resurveyed, and those the lot ended up being, some of the dimensions changed, but the lot ended up being smaller. No, just dimensions changed. Dimensions changed. But as a result of that, that made some push and pull on the ultimate design. Again, you can see kind of what has previously been approved and then what is being requested from the differences on the floor plans that are being proposed here. You're going to go through. And so, again, somewhat consistent with the original or the prior information that was provided. You can see though, here's probably the best illustration in my mind of the difference in terms of kind of the push-pull that they're doing in terms of going further back with this request compared to where they were previously. You can kind of see on, which you can't see my finger. You can kind of see if you're looking in this space here, kind of the relationship here in the new drawings. Obviously you have, and it's clouded, so that also draws attention to it. You can see where that additional space there has been added. And then, of course, there is some change up on this rear elevation as well. And then side and some great perspective little shots there. From a staff perspective, one of the things that we look at always in a request like this is we go back and look at the record of why it was, in this case, approved to the variance to exceed the lot coverage previously. And so the request appears to be in line with the approval from 2022. I do want to note that if there hadn't been this dimensional mistake and shift, those rights from 2022 would still be enforced. And this is a relatively small step up in terms of lot coverage from the 42% lot coverage that the board approved in 22 to the requested 44, almost 45. So staff, again, in an effort to be consistent with the position that the board has taken previously, has recommended approval of this item, acknowledging the shift. I do want to make sure there was a because it went to the wrong member of our
Stanley.
staff. It did not get put into the public comment packet. But there was a letter of opposition on this variance for resident at 7 Elliott Street. So that was given to you all late as a separate handout. So you can see their concerns there.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here who is opposed to the application? At 15 weeks out. And no one in opposition. Do we have the owner?
Yes, sir.
All right, Sebastian, come on up here. Do you have anything to tell us about, or you want to just let us vote?
I would really quickly add that there is a lot of precedent for lot coverages in excess of 48% in the immediate vicinity. I'd be happy to share this diagram that lists these, but just really quickly, 2 Beaton's Alley is about 63%, 4 and 6 are about 42, over 42 each, 8 is at 45, 14 is at 51, 5 Beaton's is at 45, 16 Beaton's 65. So I think there's strong precedent for the additional lot coverage. As Mr. Summerfield mentioned, it is an incremental add, so we do kindly request that the board to take that into consideration.
Okay, were you afforded, did anybody give you a copy of this objection?
No, sir. I did check the website today to see if there was any written comment, and there was.
Okay, it didn't seem as though, seems like he's got more of an issue with the contractor than he does with the application. It's not going to be handled by this board, so
Thank you.
all right.
I'll make a motion for approval.
All right, Mr. McKay moves to approve. Is there a second? Ms. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously 5-0. And the variance for 15 BZA-Z is approved.
And for the record, Mr. Bennett was recused.
Yes, thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda. And then we'll take after this one. So it's still having this one. Yes. All right. Thank you. B10, 80 South Battery Street, Charlestown, House District 8, PMS number 457-11-02-037, zone SR2, requesting a variance from section 54-301. Build an addition with an 8-foot rear setback and a 3-foot south side setback, 25 feet and 9 feet required. The owner is Teresa J. Terrace Trust. The applicant is Sebastian Von Marshall Architect LLC. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see this property is here kind of mid-block on South Battery Street. It is not the largest lot on the block, but it is one of the larger lots on this block. You can see the aerial here. This is a historic home, obviously in a very historic Charlestown neighborhood. This is a case where the request for the lot coverage results from the owners wishing to essentially age in place. And so that's my understanding. In order to accommodate their aging in place, they need to, they had looked at potentially putting in an elevator. They looked at some other things, but at the end of the day, that did not work for the architecture or the internal systems of the home. And so they're proposing this addition along the side property line here. You can see essentially here that would provide a new bedroom, essentially a master bedroom, bath that would be to the rear of the property. It does have internal access to the home, so it is an addition. It's not an accessory unit or accessory apartment, but instead is an addition to the home that would run along that side of the pool. The hallway does enter off of the living room and deck area there. As you can see, it has the potential to be a beautiful addition. Staff is fully in support of aging in place and making homes that folks can live in for various stages of their lives. All of that said, though, this feels like a substantial change for this historic property. There is a lot of room on the site. They do have some letters of support, but we had received also some phone calls from folks that were just concerned about the impacts to the neighborhood, but they weren't willing to write anything on the comment thing. The hardship for us just wasn't there. This is a large lot. The home has a lot of space, with the, again, not knowing all of the details of their daily lives, but it would seem like there's opportunity to maybe reconfigure within the home, whether an elevator was possible or not, to be able to continue to live in the home without this relatively large addition covering a substantial part of this portion of the lot. So for those reasons, staff could not get to the hardship on this item and has recommended denial. Like I said, they do have letters of support from neighboring properties for this request.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 80 South Battery Street? Seeing no one in opposition, Mr. Von Marshall.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Summerfield. Thank you, members of the board. The homeowners, Mr. Guy Tarrant and Ms. Teresa Tarrant are here, and I believe they would like to speak as well.
Sure.
After I deliver the applicant, the presentation here. We did have a chance to meet with the city staff back in July, and it was understanding that with the letter of support, the city would support the request. So we were a little surprised that the request or the recommendation was denial now. If we can go back to the site or the aerial image really quickly, I'd like to start by pointing out that a very similar addition was approved years ago by this board and by the Board of Architectural Review directly across the street at 79 South Battery for Hal and Shannon Ravenel. You can see that right here. And that I believe contains a first floor bedroom suite as well for the exact same reason. So you may or may not be familiar with those homeowners, but they have been afforded the ability to remain in that house because of that addition. So our position was that given site constraints, the existing garage at the northeast corner and the swimming pool in the back, and given limitations to modifications to the house itself, this addition would be the best solution to providing a long-term option for the homeowner to stay in the building. I would also like to point out that this addition is just slightly over 500 square feet, and that we are still well below the lot occupancy, which is to say that we understand the configuration may, the configuration and the location is what is driving the variance request. It is that setback on the north and on the west side of the property.
What's the lot coverage standard or requirement?
It's 50%, sir, and we are at 34.46.
34.4 with the addition?
With the addition, that's correct. We would go from 29.3 to 30, just under 35%. Again, I think maybe less of an issue is the scale of the addition, and obviously more is the request for the variance on the setback. As Mr. Summerfield pointed out, we have a letter of support from the neighbor immediately to the west, who is the most impacted, and the neighbor immediately to the north at number 7 Lowndes Street, directly north of the property. So the two neighbors that are impacted the most have both provided a written letter of support. I cannot speak to any other information you've received from other neighbors. We have not received or been contacted by any other neighbors.
So the 7 Lounge is just to the north of the proposed structure.
That's exactly right.
And is there a boundary line there with another lot? Is that?
That is 11 Lounge, and we are working on that property as well. There's a new house. So we know the owner of that property.
Okay. No support or objection?
No comment on that, no comment. We did share the drawings with the preservation groups, and I believe none of them have commented negatively or positively in written comment. And I don't see them here, so I don't expect to hear from them. If I may turn it over to the owner, really.
Yes,
I
please.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, I was born and raised in Charleston, downtown Charleston.
And I'm sorry,
Lived in
to tell you
this
this. Would you mind speaking into the microphone? And the reason is because it's recording and so.
Great. I'm hearing impaired too, so if you could speak up, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in downtown Charleston my entire life. I'm a senior, I'm 83 years old. I've been in this house for 40 years and my wife and I would like to stay there. We spent a lot of time trying to work out an elevator, which just absolutely did not work. This is our only alternative to stay on the first floor. Climbing the stairs is beginning to be a problem for us. So I hope that you will give us some sympathy. I certainly would be delighted to answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Mr. Tarrant.
But I'd like to point out that you will, that you really can't, you will not be able to see this addition from the street. I just don't know why anyone would be opposing an addition that no one will see and will only impact us. I don't understand. I know that I've been in Howland Shannon's across the street. They did that 8 years ago, 7, 8. I tried to get Shannon to tell me, but theirs is a good bit bigger than ours. So again, I don't know what would be the difference of accepting one and not the other. Thank you.
Let me point this out. We were really very, very surprised to find out at the last minute that the city was going to recommend denial, because we were led to believe from the very beginning that the city was sympathetic to older folks like us staying in their homes in downtown Charleston, and that if we were able to get a positive response from our neighbors, that they would be inclined to approve it. And then all of a sudden, I get this text from Sebastian just half an hour ago that there was going to be a denial. To say we were surprised, disappointed, and stressed is an understatement.
Thank you, Mr. Tarrant.
Thank you.
Mr. Von Marshall, quick question for you. I guess you really haven't had a chance to play around with anything because you thought you were all on board, but the 3-foot side setback, tell me about that and why.
Sure.
It has to be configured in that way.
I'd be happy to. So we were considering a couple of critical things. One was the proximity to the existing swimming pool, and trying to avoid leaving enough space to pass between the structure and the pool. It is very tight. It's just over 3 feet. In fact, it is very close. The other thing I'd like to point out, and you can see this in the bathroom, there's a circle in there. The addition is designed to incorporate sufficient floor area and door sizes to accommodate a wheelchair. So the design of the footprint is to a certain degree driven by site constraints, but is also driven by accessibility requirements, which is to say getting into this addition, through the addition, and around the addition on the inside by somebody with limited mobility and wheelchair does drive some of the proportions and sizes of these rooms. So the bathroom in particular is a great example of that. You have to, being able to turn a wheelchair around inside, being able to wheel into a shower, being able to get past furniture in the bedroom, which is small, frankly, and down a hallway to access that suite from the main house. So those were some of the driving forces. The other thing I'd like to point out, which you can't see here, is that immediately on the other side of that wall is a pool house for the adjacent property, which, as we said, has already submitted a written letter of support. But since those two back up to each other, it was that helped shape our decision that having the building here would be less
That's
impactful.
intrusive, right?
Okay.
Can you, it seemed like the city was concerned that they couldn't come to a hardship here.
Mhm.
Is there anything you can point out? You know,
I guess, sure. I mean, if there's any other hardship I'd point to, it's that obviously we cannot add to the front of the property, which has plenty of space. There are setback limitations there, but it's because it is a historic structure. And the setback there would prohibit us from moving forward, which means that we're kind of limited in the back. Driveway access to the garage is similarly an issue, which is this, that the other corner of the structure is somewhat challenging because we would still have to be able to get a vehicle into the two-car garage, which was added about 15 years ago or so, I believe, 20 years ago. So we were, you know, we're starting to get a little squeezed on the property, and that's what drove us to come up with this solution.
thanks.
All right, any other questions for the city discussion? Questions for the others?
For the record, I did want to confirm the comment. When staff had talked to the applicant, again, I want to be very clear, staff is very much in support of folks being able to age in place in their home, make the necessary adjustments to be able to do that. The advice that we had proffered was that we did want to see support from those immediately affected neighbors. However, we received a couple calls. They were asked, the question they asked specifically was, where's the hardship for doing it here? This is one of the largest lots on the block. Why is there not other space to be able to do it? And I could not answer that question. I think the applicant has done a good job with that. Again, I want to be very clear. Staff is very supportive of what the applicant is trying to accomplish.
Okay. And I don't take much stock in anonymous phone calls. I understand.
Yeah.
That you are, you know, you get input from the citizens of the city in all sorts of different ways, but to me, for this board, unless you place something on the record, that really exists. So, any questions?
Approval.
Mr. Asking is to approve. Ms. Richards seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Opposed, motion passes. And the variance for meeting staff.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And for the record, Mr. Bennett was recused.
Mr. Bennett was refused. Thank you. All right, let's take a quick 5-minute recess. We've been here for over 2 hours. We've got a few things to go.
In your civics lesson.
Yes, I am.
Oh, smart.
Okay. Should have made Gianna stay. I should have been like, this is my first go, you gotta stay.
Right, we're doing all right.
Yeah.
Good.
It won't end up, I mean,
Don't say it.
I'm not going to go, I was going to, but then I'm like, I don't know that this qualifies as wood, so.
When we're moving on to item number 11, we will go probably to the item number
17.
Oh, you finished.
7 lives.
How often do you do this?
15, item 15,
Twice a month?
yes. This is the new year though, and because of the holidays, we did not have that first meeting of the month.
I figured because I noticed that you needed the extensions from December, I didn't pay attention, of 25.
Yeah.
You handled this extremely well.
No, we've already.
Thank you.
It's the 7th. Yeah, we have it on the website, and every time we accept an application, it's that big block of text under it, basically saying, please be aware. Yeah, I think it's in.
these people got an AI bot set up that scans and it's all probably.
They're not architects, they'll be chatting, I'm not sure.
When is it supposed to be the poll? Tonight or tomorrow?
I think somebody, it was gonna snow.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to snow this weekend.
No, it's not supposed to snow. That is the rule. It's not supposed to snow.
They have ice.
There, yeah.
Hurricane Hugo.
It's gonna be warm on Friday, 64 degrees.
Man, it's chilly in here. It's
Monday.
It is, it's getting chilly.
And then
Monday, yeah,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, goes to Thursday.
Yeah. No.
That's not what it is. I hope it's not.
I mean, 70 degrees.
I don't mean to be out of line, but I hope enough people thank you for what you're doing, as y'all volunteer for this. It's very nice.
They do. We get paid. The longer we go, the less I make per hour.
Notice I was thanking them.
Yeah.
I love the beer.
The service.
Yeah, well, they weren't kidding with public service.
The servant part, I was redacted. You're preaching to the choir.
Just so you know, one of the reasons why I was speaking to the young woman in the back, she is with the city as well. So we played no favorites. City application is still here toward the end, so.
Oh,
By the way, how do you line them up? As they come in or they're pulling straw?
No, it's based on the nature of the application. So if you're asking for like vested rights, those go first because those are kind of automatic. And then if it's just a special exception, 9 times out of 10, we're gonna recommend for a special exception, and very few times do we ever have any objection. So again, we try to get those out of the way. And then if it's a standalone variance, we do that. And then the most complicated ones are usually the ones that have special exceptions and variances and stuff like that. And those are generally towards the end. And then appeal, if you're an appeal of anything, whether it's an appeal of the zoning administrator or appeal for reconsideration, those are always at the end because that means that something was already been heard previously. And you know, we leave that for the really diehard zoning folks to like stick around and watch those ones versus making the general public.
What happens when you find a house that hasn't expanded the footprint that they were supposed to?
That's a zoning compliance issue, so if we come into that situation, they either have to get it into compliance or they have to come through this board and get approval for the non-conformity or the whatever the deviation is.
I think Mr. Bennett said he's still recused.
Oh, yes. Okay, do we have everybody else? Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll come out of recess and keep going. Now we're at B 19 Sheridan Road, South Windermere, Council District 11. PMS number 421-05-00-060, SR1, requesting a variance from section 54-506 F4 to construct a second-story addition on a detached garage with a height of 21 feet 5 inches, 11 feet are allowed. The owner applicant is Robert Banks, variance. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here on Sheridan Road, just a little off of Jamaica Drive. You can see here in the aerial the property in question. In the yeah. South Windermere neighborhood. So you can see that the proposed structure is a two-car garage. It's qualified as a second story because it doesn't meet our definition of a half story. So it would be a full two-story structure. And while the applicant has indicated a two-story brick home, unfortunately, and this is where we got into some confusion with this. Sorry. Technically, this house is one story. They obviously have living space that they use that's above the first floor in what would be the attic, but based on our code rules, this would be a one-story home, so that only makes them eligible for an accessory structure that's up to 11 feet tall. However, clearly the existing structure that they have, garage, is taller than that. They're trying to flush that out. There was, to be very honest, there was some confusion during the original conversations with staff as it relates to what could be done here. They do have letters of support from many of their neighbors. This request will be in the rear of the existing yard. And so, again, I think the hardship is it is the current house and the way it's used led them to believe that they had more room within the code to work with than ultimately they do. The house is kind of an exaggerated one story, if you would. That's not really an architectural term, but I'm going to use it. They have the support of the neighbors. I think there is a deficiency in that this is a two-story, would allow for two-story homes. So if their home was taller, then they would by right be able to build the proposed garage. And so for those reasons, staff is recommending approval of this application. As I said, they have a number of letters of support in your public comment packet.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody opposed to the application for 19 Sheridan Road? Seeing no one in opposition, we have the owner applicant present. All right, anything you'd like to say to the board?
I think Robert said less is more.
Good thinking. All right, thank you. Yep, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Richards seconds. Motion on the table, please say aye. Aye. And opposed? None are opposed. The motion carries and passes unanimously, and the variance for 19 Sheridan Road is granted. Thank you.
And for the record, Mr. Bennett, it was recused on that item.
Thank you. And he's back. All right, next item on our agenda, B12, 207 Romney Street, North 7, Council District 4, TLS number 463-15-02-054 zone DR2F. Requesting a variance from section 54-301 and 54-317 to build a detached single-family home with a 0-foot west side setback and 1 off-street parking space. 7 feet and 2 spaces are required. The owners, applicants of Courtney Black and Robert Blues, Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here. It's kind of at the end of the Romney Street terminus, I guess. It is a narrow lot in an area where you do have a few other narrow lots on that particular very small block, but then you have some much larger lots. It has depth to it that some other lots in the area don't have. So it is it's a very eclectic mix of lot configurations in this area. Even within this DR2F zoning in this area, This lot and the lots on this block are different and in many ways smaller than most of the other lots. That said, there are a number of other examples along Romney Street where there are similar, if not quite as narrow of lots, where you will see, and you do see footprints for buildings that are within these setback areas. You can see an aerial here, the other two homes that are on this kind of three lot frontage. Somewhat difficult to see at this scale. Site plan. Magnifying glass. So you can see here kind of how the lot looks, where the setback requirements are, and then where the proposed, you can't actually see the proposed, but you can see kind of the building envelope under there. And then here you can see the proposed footprint for the home. They do have a couple of porches, so when you think about breaking up some of those, so while this is a so west.
It's down.
I'm sorry?
North is down.
Yeah, north is down, so yeah, so here is where you're gonna have the 0 foot issue. So again, it's not the whole length. Again, when we say setbacks, we go to the nearest point, and that becomes the setback. Not that the whole home is being built along a 0 foot setback on the property, as well as this is a site, because again, how narrow it is, it would be next to impossible probably to accommodate the 2 cars. If you did try to put another car here, again, that's not necessarily the expectation or the look for the community. And sorry, and then again, you can kind of see they've done an analysis of just how this property would look relative to the others. In fact, there's an argument to be made that by putting that parking space in front, they are being somewhat disruptive to the character and context of the neighborhood, even to provide one on-site parking space. Comments, there were no public comments on this. And you can see the floor plan. This is a modest home that they're proposing. They're not building anything extravagant. You can see the elevations, and there was a variance approved to build a detached structure for this property back in 2000 for the exact same thing. That was approved. Staff is recommending approval. Again, their entitlement lapsed. The board found for the hardship for what they had previously been approved for, and they're trying to move forward with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Robert. So they're basically just here because their vested right approval lapsed?
Yes.
Okay. But the previous board in 2020 deliberated and found that they met requirements.
Yes.
Okay. All right, do we have anybody in opposition to the application for 207 Romney Street? Being no one in opposition, do we have a favor? No. All right. Need to hear from, so.
Make a motion for approval.
All right, back to 2020. We got a motion, second. We got seconds to motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No one is opposed, and so the motion is granted. And variance for 207 Romney Street is approved for black and blues. You won't get bruises. All right, the next item on our agenda. B13. 221 Grove Street, Wagner Terrace, Council District 6, TMS number 460-11-02-015 Zone SR2, requesting a variance from section 54-301 to build a two-story rear addition with a 23-foot rear setback, 25 feet are required. The owner is Owen Measlin. The applicant is Michael Fisher. Mr. Summer.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see this property here is almost to the corner of 10th and Grove Street in the Wagner Terrace neighborhood. Again, looking at block configuration and the lot, it is a rectangular lot, which is perfectly normal. It is a little bit narrow, but if you look across the street with the attached products, not nearly as narrow as those. But so there is a mix of lot dimensionality within the blocks in this older historic area of the city that is Wagner Terrace. And so you can see that there's a number of ways that homes have been developed in this area. One of the things, though, that you do see is a pretty consistent street frontage, which this property would be maintaining by doing this addition to the rear. You see here in the aerial again how the houses, whether you're a two-story, whether you're a one-story cottage, whether you've already been raised or not, you step back from the front, and you have those kind of front yards, but then you do see a mix in the rear yards. There's an existing porch on the site that would have different setbacks than the home, the habitable space. So again, that's important to note that this is an area of the property which already has built elements on it, but because those are porches, porches have different allowances for intrusions into the setback area compared to a habitable portion of the home. So you can see here the proposed site plan at the bottom after they demo the porch and then build it, and then the existing site plan with the existing porch in the back. Second floor again has current access to the porch, would have access to the new space. Sorry. These are the existing elevations. And then the proposed floor plans, again, they would go from being porches to habitable space. And this would be the rear elevation, the side elevation. And again, this is existing developed space within the lot. This 2-foot intrusion into the setback because of the existing porches would be allowed, but not the converting them. So that's why they're here for the variance this evening. Again, we didn't receive any public comment related to this one. The hardship is this is existing built space. They just basically want to convert it from a porch to a living area to help make the house more livable for their family. And so staff is recommending it.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have anybody here in opposition to the application for 221 Grove Street? All right, seeing no one in opposition, Governor Appleton. You'd like to say the board?
I'll keep it very brief. My name is Mike Fisher, and essentially this is another instance of aging in place. This is the homeowner, Owen. He's owned the house for 40 years, and we'd like to get him another 40 years out of it. And I will just throw it back to you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the city or for the owner? Move approval. All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Huey seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes unanimously for the
Thank you very much.
variance for 221 Grove Street is granted. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda, B14. 1555 Juniper Street, West Ashley, Council District 7, TMS number 350-03-00-185 and 186, zone DR1. Requesting a variance from section 54-301, attached townhome with a 5-foot rear setback, 6 feet are required, and to build 2 additional attached townhomes with lot areas of 1,005 square feet and 1,302 square feet, 1,500 square feet are required. The address is the city of Charleston. The applicant is Housing and Community Development Department. Mr. Sumner.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here on Juniper Street that the city acquired and has been working with a private developer to develop for sale affordable residential product. As the construction has occurred, there's been some adjustments to how the mapping has been requested to do, again, to create what will be owner occupied residential development for folks with AMIs 80 to 120. 80 to 120 of the area median income. And it's just come to light that as they constructed these, what had originally been the expectation for what would be the final mapping, they made some adjustments on site that resulted in a reduction in lot area for 2 of the lots, and then a setback because they're now putting a property line closer for one of the sites. And so this is a request to kind of clean that up so that they can get the final map recorded, so they can actually sell and transfer these units to these new owners. Again, the hardship is just the lot configuration to convert this over to these single family attached lots. Extremely difficult to do. And so in actual construction and where the drive aisle ended up being and all of that just resulted in some slight modifications to the anticipated plan as they've been working through the mapping process. You can kind of see here, again, some of that is based on radii and accommodating the ADA ramp. Again, this is, we received no letters of support or opposition on this one, and staff is recommending approval.
All right, thank you, Robert. Anybody here in opposition to the application for 1555 Juniper Street? And no one in opposition. Anything you'd like to say about it, or are we ready to?
I'm Heather Brasino, the construction program
Waited
manager.
patiently all night, so you might as well have your say.
Here to answer any questions, as Mr. Summerfield mentioned, just some changes with the plat and the entrance coming in. We did have the 2 property lines coming down the middle initially, and we had to change it to make it sellable and affordable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Move approval.
All right, Mr. Bennett moves to approve. Mr. Grass seconds the motion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. The motion passes. And it's unanimous that the application for 1555 Juniper Street for variance is granted. Thank you. All right. B15, 8 Magnolia Avenue, North Central, Council District 4, TMS number 463-08-03-031, zoned SR2, requesting a special exception under section 54-110F to vertically extend a non-conforming west side setback and a variance from section 54-306.9 to build a half-story addition with a dormer width 35%, 30% is allowed. The owners are Haley West and Joel Caldwell. The applicant is Skylar Coxton. Mr. Summerfield.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, so you can see the property here, it's mid-block on Magnolia Avenue between Peachtree and, oh, why do they keep coming up with these names? San Souci?
San Susie, you got it.
Thank you. Here on the site, you can also see the footprint of the existing home. Here you can see the aerial of the home with the garage. Again, the response to the variance test here, they provided some existing condition photos that they had gone out and done. All right, so you see the site plan here. The site itself is not really changing. The issue is they have a existing setback intrusion here. And so with this new element that they would propose, you would continue that intrusion up onto second floor, essentially. And then, as mentioned, they are creating what amounts to dormer widths that exceed what is allowed in order to not count it, or to be able to count it as the half-story requirement. They are proposing to do 2 bedrooms with a bathroom and like a little loft. Again, if these were kids' bedrooms, that would be like a play area. Nothing extravagant in that part of the request. This is a 1-story cottage, essentially, that they would be proposing to take up. Again, because of that dormer situation, a little more than we allow under a normal half-story improvement. They do have a number of letters of support from neighbors. Again, the lot itself is not necessarily a hardship in and of itself. It's a pretty normal lot, but this is an area where you do see a mix of different housing in terms of height. This is a 1-story, existing 1-story in a historic neighborhood. We love to see these cottages remain, but be able to be reused. The request for the vertical extension, honestly, if I could approve that administratively, that part wouldn't be here.
The vertical extension.
The vertical extension, yeah.
But for the dormers.
But for the dormers, well, actually, I can't approve a vertical extension, I can only approve a horizontal extension administratively. If I had my way, though, I would be able to do either of them.
Me too.
So that those don't come here, and again, that's hopefully a fix in the new zoning code. But the dormers would still be an issue just because that slight additional percentage of coverage does exceed what our definition for a half-story is. Again, we think this is a de minimis impact or what amounts to additional livable space in the home, not anything extravagant. So staff is recommending approval, but the special exception to extend vertically the existing non-conforming west side setback, and then to allow for a 35% dormer width, where only 30% is allowed in order to meet the definition of half-story.
Okay, thank you, Robert. I'm assuming you're not here in opposition. Ms. Clarkston? Anything you'd like to say about it?
The only thing that I wanted to clarify is that this will be the first BAR opt-in in this neighborhood. So the BAR is going to be reviewing the design of the renovation that's happening here. And not only is the dormer, the vertical extension and the non-conforming setback, but the entire roof is going to be pitched up just slightly under 3 feet. It'll go from about a 5.5 and 12 to about a 7.5 and 12. So it is, the entire roof is getting a little bit taller within that setback. So I did want to make that note.
Thank you.
And they are kids' bedrooms, family that wants to stay here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Move for approval.
All right, Ms. Grass moves to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Bennett seconds. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. The motion passes. And the special exception and the variance for 8 Magnolia Avenue.
And that is the last item that has not otherwise been withdrawn.
We'll do make the number.
Yeah.
Providence, what made that one, VAR opt-in?
Because they're demoing part of the roof, and so go to